Hello and welcome, Whale family. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm HeatherHrz. I'm here for another episode of Artist Fireside Chat with Shelly Soneja.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hey, happy to be here.
I'm really excited to have you, and I know it's late where you are, so thanks so much for being here. And she's amazing. If you haven't seen her amazing work, you will today. And she is also an art director at Altitude Games and making waves in the crypto art scene with all her beautiful work. So really excited to hear more about her. So I don't even know where to begin because you're involved in a lot of different creative things. In doing some deeper digging on you, I noticed that you also make music too. So I'm just like,
oh my God.
Wow, this woman is a powerhouse.
Can I say, the music thing is just totally new, so it's not that impressive.
No, I was impressed by it. I mean, It sounds like it could be in like a video game or
Exactly.
Or it could be in I mean, what was cool is it seemed like a suite of songs that went together, even though they had different styles. So I thought that was super cool. But let's just start here for now. So how were you indoctrinated into the world of crypto art, and what has that experience been like for you so far?
I like that you use the word indoctrinated.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So I wasn't into crypto at all. I wasn't. I mean, I've been familiar with Bitcoin and things like that. Pre 2018. I've just heard of it, but I've never really had the interest to look into it seriously. There was no reason for me to just look into it. But in 2018, I work in a video game company, right? So what we usually focus on is doing just mobile games, casual mobile games. And then my boss decided to take a dive into blockchain gaming. So that was in 2018. And it was around during that time I was also made aware of CryptoKitties. So that was the first thing that I found out about, because my boss told me about it. And he was also the one who told me about the crypto art scene. So when I first heard about CryptoKitties and what it's, what it does, the idea of creating digital scarcity, it really blew my mind. Because, right? I mean, it's totally this huge paradigm shift of the way you look at digital art or digital collectibles. Primarily being a digital artist, I think because you've always been you've always grown up and always been so used to just thinking digital art is not as valuable as physical art, right? So when I first read about CryptoKitties and then finding out about this crypto art scene back then, it just really blew my mind. The thing is, so I kept telling myself at that time, okay, I got to get into this. I got to research more on this. I got to get involved and start making crypto art now. But I was at a point in my career where there was so much going on with my day job, that plus all the freelance projects that I had lined up. So all of my time and energy and focus was put into that. And then I couldn't, and I kept putting it off and kept putting it off. And then until finally, and I felt maybe this is the time to give it a try. I'm just stuck at home, might as well just give it a try. I joined in September, and that's how I started.
Yeah, in September it feels like probably a year ago at this point with how much has happened, right?
I feel ever since entering the space, my perception of time and it's just all of that is just maybe coupled with being stuck in lockdown. Just being stuck on Twitter and seeing the evolving nature of the crypto space really messes up your concept of time. So
yeah, definitely.
It felt like a year.
Yeah, totally. It's crazy to see how many artists have kind of come in around like September 2020, and like how far they've come. And it's really cool to see the different levels of success that people have, you know, created for themselves through their art in this space. And yeah, it's really exciting. Like I'm really excited to see what's happening for you in October of 2021 at that point, you know. So getting back to the music, they're kind of like these really cool electronic like vignettes. Could you talk about the inspiration behind that project? And like, was that for a game or something? Or yeah, tell me more about that.
Well, it happened when I was, so we have it there, cast on the stream. So it was a time when I was stuck in lockdown, and I was really feeling like I wanted to do something different. And I'm trying to remember what kind of headspace I was in at that time. I guess, let me think about it. Because like our lives were totally upended, right? When the pandemic hit, and then we just started to like reevaluate a lot of things for me, it started to make me evaluate about all the things that I took for granted before all this crazy stuff happened. Like, I wish I traveled more. I wish I saw my friends more and all those things. So there was a lot of that feeling of like, I wish I was more motivated to like do the things that I've always wanted to do and just stop putting things off. So, and I always wanted to like dabble with music. I took a piano lessons when I was a child, but it was really boring for me because the way it was structured, it was just really serious. Like, oh, you have to memorize all these notes and these scales and everything like that. So yeah, that like as a child, it was just like really boring for me. But then I always loved music. I love listening to music, and I thought like maybe I should just like, you know, I have a ukulele. I played on the ukulele, but then like when I discovered like trying out electronic music, I found it was like much easier to like create melodies. And then a lot the inspiration. You're exactly right, and I'm glad that you actually can see. I mean, well, hear it that it has been influenced by video games because it has that quality to it. So yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna try to play the songs, but I'm having some sound issues to try to pick up my desktop sound. But everybody, after the stream, or you could just play it in the background while you're listening. It's really cool music. And yeah, even noticing just the images that went with it, with each song, I was like, oh, this is like a really cool suite. It just looked like it was really well thought out. So yeah, I mean, I'm curious if you would want to like go into that foray of making more music again. And I totally hear you, that like when you're a kid and you take like music lessons, they kind of take the fun out of it. And yeah, it's like going to art school. It just kind of takes the magic out of creating, because it's like, no, you have to do it right. And this is the theory, and you got to practice your scales. And yeah, it just kind of makes it not fun.
The funny thing is, I never went to art school.
Yeah, wow. No, I did, and I feel like it made it really hard for me to make art for a lot of years afterwards. So the correlation that I'm noticing is people that didn't go to art school, I feel like they really flourish because there's nobody there to tell them that they're doing it wrong. Oh. You know?
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just noticing that for me. There were other kids that I went to art school with that didn't have that issue, and they still flourished nonetheless. But I had a lot of friends that went and they felt that same experience. Like they question everything that they're creating because, you know, you do these critiques with each class, and they just like pick apart everything, and like everything has to have meaning. And if it doesn't have meaning, then it's not worth anything, or
it's not art.
Yeah, it's just it's kind of like soul crushing sometimes. So So I feel like there's a balance, you know, like it's nice to have some, you know, technical knowledge and to have, you know, support from like really great teachers, but sometimes it can just go the other way and like bog you down. And, you know, when you think too much, then it's not play, and creation is just playing. And I think that that's where like the best stuff comes from, you know?
That's true. When you mentioned that thing about play, I'm not sure who said it exactly, but like you have to kind of revert your mindset to when you were like a child and when you used to just do things for fun, right? And I fall into that trap sometimes of overthinking, you know, and like when I overthink, I just get frustrated and then I get stuck, you know. But sometimes I just have to force myself to take a step back, and then I realize that when I just let loose and relax, and sometimes just let the art take me where it wants to take me, and then I'm surprised at what I could do by just doing that, by just letting go. So yeah, I feel
it really is the key. It's like this weird thing that's like easier said than done sometimes. Like even when you catch yourself, you're like, I need to not be frustrated anymore. And you're like, okay, how do I get unfrustrated?
Exactly.
The answer I feel like is like just moving around, like go do something else, go for a walk, go be in nature, make weird sounds, make weird faces at yourself, like try to get this, do something silly. I don't know.
Yeah.
It tends to get me out of my head. Yeah. So I was curious, like, what are your biggest creative influences? Like, I noticed that you're into cartoons and comics, so if you wanted to talk about some of that.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, my big influences would have to be. Let me just preface this by saying that I'm a total dork. So I grew up loving comics, Japanese manga, animation, video games. So all that I think is reflected in my art, which is why it's very character centric, and like people would always say, "Oh, it looks like a character from a video game." When it comes to like anime and things like that, I would say anime like Sailor Moon, like magical girls. I just really love that idea of like this group of girls, with magical powers, and like they're just this elevated beings, then they can just like totally kick ass and save the world, and it's all friendship, and it just really like inspired me a lot as a child. Together with that and like other things like Magic Knight Rare, all those magical girl anime like influence my work, and I guess you can see it.
Yeah, I totally can. I love Sailor Moon. I like really want to get more into anime than like, I feel like I was always into like the surface stuff like Sailor Moon, and like I loved Akira as a kid, and then like there just like wasn't as much available. Like I only had like 28.8K BPS modem back in the day, and then like I don't know, it's not like I can't access it now. I also really loved Ranma Half. That was like one of my favorites. Yeah. They like had that at Blockbuster Video. I don't know if they have that near you, but they had that video at the local Blockbuster by me, so I was exposed to that.
That's really funny. I love that too.
Yeah. So I also noticed that you were recently featured in Graffiti Queen's exhibition in Decentraland. Oh no. Let's see if it'll reload. Now I might have to go running through the exhibit to find your work again. But it's super cool. You were featured with over 200 plus amazing female artists, like I believe Daniela Doodles was part of it, Olive Allen, Kitty Bass, among others. Yeah, it was a lot of people. Okay, so cool. We're gonna have to run around. Oh, there you are, right there. Hey. So what was that experience like for you being part of this exhibition?
I mean, it's amazing. It's like one of the biggest exhibits in Decentraland. It's not my first time actually having my work featured in Decentraland. Back in January, I was part of the 100X Art group as one of their artists in residence, and so they had this big art district launch in Decentraland back in January. So I actually helped set up and conceptualize one of the galleries there, together with a 3D artist friend of mine. We built the gallery, we deployed it, and then I helped design the gallery itself. It's Nara Gallery. Yeah, it's curated by Gabush and Gultra. So it features their collection. So that was not really my first, but I guess my first virtual exhibit that I was actively involved in. But I was also featured in like Raribles, gallery launch, and yeah, so
that's super cool.
So this is just another thing.
So you build worlds in the metaverse as well, and work for and work for Altitude Games. Actually, what is it like being an art director there at Altitude Games? Can you talk a little bit about that? Are you still working for them, or now you like totally immersed in crypto art?
I still work for them.
Wow. I'm like, that's a lot. Like, you put out a lot, so I don't know when you sleep.
I'm a workaholic. You can ask all my friends. So yeah, being an art director. So like, I guess there's this misconception that if you're an art director, you do a lot of drawing. But in my case, it's more of being like a manager. I manage the team. So it's not just a team of illustrators, it's a team of 2D artists, 3D artists, and UI artists. So I manage like around 10 plus people right now. We're still hiring, but yeah, so it's getting bigger and bigger. So what I do there, I manage them, and I'm also in charge of mentoring them. I train them just to make sure that their skills are up to expectations and stuff like that. I also do a lot of quality checking, just making sure that the art for the game follows the art style Bible. Just make sure everything just looks consistent, because so they all look like they belong in the same universe. And then I also do performance reviews. I do a lot of documentation, a lot of admin stuff. So so if you have like dreams of becoming an art director, it's not enough that you're an artist. You have to know how to work with people. And I don't just interface with artists alone. I also have to like coordinate with project managers, with coders and game designers. So you have to know how to collaborate and work with a whole bunch of different people. Yeah. So it's a entirely different skill set, managing.
Yeah. They didn't tell me that in college. And I was doing it in advertising, so I feel like it's definitely not as fun as working in for a gaming company. It seems like there's a little more room for creativity there and like collaboration than advertising, you know. It's like you're at the mercy of all the different brands you work with. So but yeah, games definitely more fun.
I did dabble in advertising a bit, actually. My first job, I was a team leader and digital colorist for like animatics and storyboards for this outsourcing advertising company back in the day. So yeah, I know that the pace compared to video games in advertising is really quick. Like these number of artworks or these frames in just one day. But in video game development, at least you have a longer time frame to work on things. So the pace is not quite as intense as in advertising.
Yeah, I would imagine like once you're in like the launch phase, it just gets a little crazy. But yeah, it seems like people take their time with developing games, and there's just so much to it, like the worlds within worlds in a game that
so many moving parts. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems really interesting being in that world. And so trying to think which question I want to ask you next, because you're doing so much and I'm just like, you know, as I'm talking to you, I'm like, wow, you've done so many things. Like, and you're like, back in the day, I mean, you look like you're only like 22 years old. So I'm like, what?
Oh my God, thank you. I'm actually ancient.
Tell us your secrets. No.
I run on spite.
What'd you say?
I run on spite.
Run on spite. I also noticed that you have an upcoming drop tomorrow with charged particles, and you're doing these. Let me see if I can pull them up. You're doing these like totem,
yes,
together with other artists, right?
With the glow, yeah.
Okay. Do you want to talk about that? I'm gonna, as I scroll, I saw it in one of your tweets, so I'm gonna pull that up while you talk about it.
So yeah, so this is one of 2 drops that we're doing with charged particles. So I guess those who are not familiar with charged particles, it's this really cool protocol that combines NFTs with DeFi. So I'm not sure if I can like explain it simply, but from what I know about it is that you can like charge NFTs. You can create NFTs that can behave as a basket to contain other NFTs. You can also put in other tokens into it, and then you could have them gain interest. So it really is like this mix of NFT and DeFi. So this is one of 2 drops that we're doing with charged particles. The other one I can't talk about yet.
Oh, it's a secret.
It's coming soon. Yeah. Really excited about that other one coming up. It really makes use of the protocol. So they're still setting it up. So yeah, I can't talk too much about that.
and so there were 4 totems created with 33 different artists.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
How did that work logistically? Like, can you talk about that with creating the different totems? Like, who put it together? Like, conceptually, how did it? Yeah.
It was pretty easy. What they did was, because they have different like project leaders for different projects in the guild. So what they did was they would just give a template, and they'll say, "Oh, this is the bounds of your artwork. Just make sure you don't exceed these bounds, but you're free to create whatever you want." So that's just basically it. So it's very interesting. Like, we're just free to make whatever we want, and then you can. And it's always very exciting to see, like, because we all have no idea, like, what they're gonna make, right? So it's nice to see, like, when everything is done and put together. It's just pretty amazing, the final result. So what I did was one of this little rabbit totem.
I was gonna say, which one is yours?
Yeah, you can see like there's a bigger version when you scroll down. I added it in the thread. There, that one. Yeah, it's actually my pet bunny that passed away a couple of years ago, and I think I'd immortalize him as an NFT. So, and it was something a little bit different from what I usually do. Because I always
so sweet. Yeah, I was like, I can't actually tell which one is yours in the totem. I was like, that's cool that you kind of did like a different style, and it looks really awesome.
Thank you.
It's really cool how it came out too. With collaboration, like, you never know what's going to happen, and it's nice that I think it's kind of good that you didn't see what the other artists were doing, because then it might influence what you're doing a little too much.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
some people did post their work in progress, but I try not to look at it too much, because I wanted to, like what you said, I kind of want to think about what it is that I want to put out.
Yeah, and there's like that fine line between, like, you want things to look good together, so you kind of want to see it, but I feel like they did a really great job of curating the different pieces of the totem. It feels like everything goes together, even though you were all kind of working individually.
She
really well done.
was the one who put them all together the way they look like right now.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear who you said put it together.
Shinji Akira. He was the one who put the totems all together the way you see them right now.
Yeah, it looks awesome. This is super cool. So do you know when the second drop is happening?
I think we're still waiting on word from them on when it's done with the technical aspects of it.
Right on. So this one I'm putting a link in our Discord chat just so people can keep their ear to the ground since this is happening tomorrow. Although like you're closer tomorrow than I am being in Eastern Standard Time, so it's really soon happening.
Oh, I forgot to mention that there's this big event related to it. I'm not sure if it's mentioned on the tweet itself, but there's going to be a big party in Crypto Voxels for this event.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, maybe it's not mentioned in the tweet, but yeah, there will be an event related to this drop.
Okay. Do you know where in Crypto Voxels, or you can share it later? I'll put it in off topic. Yeah, if you want to DM it to me later, we can share it for sure. Because I'm sure some of our community would be interested in going there. That's really cool.
All right, I'll send you the link later.
Okay, cool. Wow, we also have a couple of questions
Sure.
from the chat. I don't even know where to start. Let's see if I can reword this. They're saying what I want to ask is, how can those of us who already like art be productive in the world of art? Like, what are the things we need to do first to get started? It's like a loaded question.
Yeah. Let's see. How can those of us who really like art be productive? Oh, so I think it's more about like how to create art. That's the question, right? How do we get started?
Like if you're interested in just like,
right.
Oh my God, where do I begin? Yeah.
I think first thing you have to think about, I guess, one of the first things is experiment with like different mediums, I think. Since there's like so much mediums, right? So you can do 2D, you can do 2D art, you can do 3D. People tend to have this natural inclination to one or the other. Like maybe I feel like I might want to do more of these digital paintings, or maybe I feel like, there's something in 3D art that really, like as a medium, that really captures what I want to say and express to the world better than what 2D art or painting can do. It's a lot of introspection and experimentation, but I think that's something that you'll always do throughout your entire artistic journey. Just experiment, try out a lot of things, experiment with a lot of mediums, and then figure out along the way what it is that, I guess, like the message, like, or expression that you want to bring out to the world. Like, I think there's like a lot of, like, there's this pressure, like for some artists that feel like, oh, I don't think I have like this very deep meanings to my art, so maybe nobody wants to see my character art or anything like that. But I think like even in character art, there's a lot of expression in it. Like, for example, that artwork that you showed with Overflow, like it's character centric, but when I was making it, I was just thinking about like the crypto art community, and like it was during the time, this was in January, so it was during the time when I was just feeling really like overwhelmed with a lot of emotion, mostly gratitude, love, and it's also about because it's called Overflow, it's also like the overflow of creativity and all these ideas that I had to do, that I wanted to create in this space. So this is one of the pieces that I really liked too, because it was one of those things that I didn't overthink. I just felt like, I just let loose, and then it's just funny, like how it just worked out the way it did. So that's like an example, like how of something It's just character centric, and maybe people would think it's just a pretty image, but it's not just a pretty image to me, you know, like it meant something to me. So just a lot of those things. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, it was. I think you answered it really well, and it's like, as a pretty loaded question. It's like, how do I make art? And art is just so subjective, and I really think you hit the nail on the head that it's really about experimentation and play and just trying different things and not thinking too much. You know, like, don't think too much. Gosh, so many questions. What inspires, so I feel like this one's related. So what inspires you to continue making art or comics? And what is the source of your ideas, creativity, and talent? So I think the last part you kind of touched on before, you know, talking about anime and manga, but maybe like what inspires you to keep going would be something you could speak on.
Right. What inspires me? Ever since I was a child, it was just something that I just had this natural thing that I just had to create. It's something that's hard for me to explain, but I just found this, I just really wanted to just create and make things. I'm not sure where it comes from exactly, but there was just something about creating and drawing and just making things out of imagination that really resonated with me. And I found so much joy in it, like even just as a child, just creating these things and then having an idea in my head and putting it into paper and then just seeing this tangible thing. It's just like, I think until now, it's just always been like this magical thing for me. It's hard to explain. It's just something that just naturally in me that I just want to create and like share. And that's what keeps me going. Part of it, yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to quickly say your work has like this really magical vibe to it also. Like all the characters feel like fairies or like these mystical beings. And yeah, there's like a wonder to them. It's really beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you feel that way. Because that's part of it. Like I want people to feel that way when they see my art. That's great. It's great to hear that.
And people were, so I guess you've been doing it since you were a kid, so it kind of answers the question that one of our viewers had was, did you start drawing with traditional mediums before you got into digital art, or did you start with digital? But you've been doing it since you were a kid, so yeah. So was it just like pencil, or did you have paints, or like you just had everything to play with as a kid?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I had a lot of art tools, but yeah, definitely started with traditional. So pencils, color pencils. Yeah, definitely started with those first. Crayons, then paint. I was pretty lucky that my parents encouraged my creativity and didn't tell me that it was just. Didn't tell me to just stop doing it or anything.
Yeah, like, oh, you have to go be a lawyer or something. Yeah.
I think it's like whenever I painted and created stuff, they loved it, you know. So like I'm thankful that they support my art, my creativity, and all. But like when it became time to like graduate from college, time to choose your career and stuff like that. I wanted to take up fine art, and then that's when they're saying. I don't blame them for this. I understand that they're concerned because, of course, they want the best financial security for me. So they're like, maybe there's no money in art, but you could channel your creativity in something else, perhaps. So they suggested maybe you can take up like media production, because there's like video editing, there's like radio. I don't know if kids still listen to radio nowadays, but yeah, there's like radio and there's script writing, and I love to write as well. So I thought, okay, I'll go ahead and take that course. You know, it seems like fun, but it never stopped me from drawing and posting my artwork online. That's actually how I got my first art job, was because I never stopped posting my art online, even though I was like in a totally different, studying in a totally different field. I was discovered there. My work was discovered online, and then that's when I got hired to work on the advertising agency where they're making storyboards and animatics. So that was the beginning of my creative career. I was actually
really cool.
I actually had to choose between that job or this business process outsourcing job that my parents told me to take the test for. And when I took the test, I had to go to this sterile building, and I was sitting down and everybody was like so serious, and I had this stuffy shirt on, and it's like, okay, you take this test. And I was like sitting there thinking, what am I doing?
I do not belong here at all.
Exactly. So I put my foot down and I'm like, folks, I gotta take this art job. And I thought that they were gonna fight me about it. And they're like, okay, go ahead. And I was like, all right.
Yeah. I feel like this is sort of related, kind of working through like your parents' expectations and like what's safe versus like what's going to be fun. Someone was asking, throughout your journey as an artist, what has been your biggest struggle? And I'll add, like, how did you work through that?
Ooh, what is my biggest struggle? Let me think about that. I never had problems with looking for projects or like creative jobs, working for clients and things like that. But I would say that my struggle as an artist was trying to make money off at least like my original work. Like maybe I always thought like eventually, the big end goal for me is like to make a living off my own creations, like I don't have to always answer to clients and things like that. So I would, for context, what I would do outside of my day job before I ever entered crypto art was I would join local conventions. These are mostly comic conventions. What you do is that you pay a lot of money to rent a booth. On top of that, you also pay a lot of money to print your artworks. So whether that be stickers, prints, zines. And that was my way of like trying to show like, I'm this artist, I create shit, and I'm selling my work. And, I always wanted to have that, being able to, I guess eventually, like I mentioned, make a living out of my own art. But I knew then it's a big struggle because I was also competing with a lot of other people who were also like just focused on making things like fan art, or they were just, that are artwork that's not based on their own original work. I mean, I'm not like dissing them or anything. I mean, if people want to do that, that's great, I mean, but it's just like personally for me, it's not something that I want to be known for.
Your own original stuff. That's what you wanted to do. Yeah,
exactly. But it's difficult. It was really difficult for me. Like, there are some people, yes, that would buy my work, but again, I was selling them for peanuts, and I had to pay a lot for buying a booth.
Yeah, they're like hundreds of dollars to be in comic conventions and art conventions. It's gonna be
a lot of times, I don't break even at all. I just did it because I love doing it, but it felt like a very far off dream for me, but I still did it. Yeah. So that was the struggle. Like, how do I make my name as an artist, like making original work? It was just difficult. And competing also online and like Instagram, and you're fighting against this algorithm, and it's like, I don't know, it's just, I never felt that. That was my biggest struggle, I think. Until crypto art happened.
Yeah, crypto art is so amazing for artists, and I feel like it's only going to get better as more attention is being brought to the space. And you had said earlier that you were discovered because you kept sharing your art online, and I feel like that's a testament to just keep putting yourself out there, don't give up. Exactly. If you get yourself in front of enough eyes, like somebody is sure to notice you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think to add to that, like if you are driven and passionate and obsessive about your passions and stuff like that, I think it can really take you places. there's this kind of energy that comes with being that driven and that passionate and that focus. I would never like trade any of the experience that I've had, for anything. Like I've always wanted to do art. I've always knew that I wanted to create, and it's led me here. Maybe a lot of times, maybe I have been lucky to meet the right people and all, but just you have to hustle. You have to put yourself out there, keep creating.
Yeah, and I feel like you might have already answered this question through talking about it, but do you have any advice for any artists that are wanting to break into the gaming industry? This was another chat question that we had.
Okay. So I guess that would depend on like where you would be applying. I can only speak in my personal experience, which is working for casual games for mobile. So the question is how to break in, right? So for example, you don't have any game experience at all, but you want to apply for a game artist position. So obviously we would be looking for portfolios. It's important that you put together a portfolio that showcases the kind of talent that you can bring to the company that you're applying for. First of all, research the company that you're applying for. Different companies will have different requirements. For example, especially in our company, we do casual games, so most of it will look very cartoony. They're cute. We have an emphasis on like those very exaggerated, stylized characters, bright colors. But then if you look in other game companies, you will see like, oh, they're very gritty, they're very dark, and they want these realistic stuff. So I would still be getting like a lot of portfolios where it doesn't match with what we do. So those things get automatically rejected. So the first thing you do is research on the company that you want to apply for, and then tailor your portfolio to what the company is looking for. If you don't have game dev experience, what you can do is that you can make mock-ups. Like you can make a pretend mock-up. Like this is how I would design like a bubble shooter, or this is how I would design so and so game. So you kind of show that in that way, like for me as an art director, and that way I can see like, oh, okay, so this is how this applicant will design background. This is how this applicant will design characters. So tailor fit your portfolio to what the company would need. And I think that's one advice that I could give, like to get your foot in the door. And then if you get rejected, don't take it personally. You could be like a wrong fit for like many reasons, not because that you're a terrible artist or anything like that. It's just maybe you just don't fit. Maybe we're looking for a specific artist for a specific project that has a specific look, and maybe your art just didn't fit that. So don't be discouraged. Rejection like happens a lot, and you can try reapplying. You can try going to other companies. So that's what I would suggest.
Yeah, that's really great advice. And there's so many gaming companies out there that have different styles, and so if it doesn't work at one, just try to find the places that are doing work that you would really like to do.
Exactly.
And it's really good advice to do mock-ups of games, like redesign existing games.
Yes.
Yeah, that's super great advice. I hope that answered your question, whoever that was. I have a sort of, well, it's not really related, but like, what has been the most challenging project or piece for you, and like yet rewarding? Like, what was the most rewarding project that you've worked on?
In crypto art?
It doesn't have to be crypto, it could be anything.
Most challenging.
Most challenging yet rewarding. So,
oh, wow.
Or it could just be straight up most challenging. You can share both if they're two different things.
I guess in terms of as being an art director, because I was just thinking about the things that really was a big challenge for me. it was during a time when I had to go through. It was a challenging time for the company at that time, and then I knew that because when I became art director, I had this responsibility to grow the team, not just in terms of numbers, but in terms of getting them to become like higher skilled. Not only that, but also to become leaders in their own right, to help manage the incoming new artists. So that was like the biggest challenge for me. Thinking about like how do I, strategizing, like how do I do this? Could I do it? So there was a lot of self-doubt around that. Actually, I have a piece related to that experience. If you go to Rarible, I'm not sure if you can find it. It's the one where it's sort of like an alter ego of me wearing a crown. I'm not sure if you can find it. It's one of my early works. So
early, okay. I'll scroll down some more.
Yeah.
A lot of additions to this one. It's really
cool. That's from the Pranksy collaboration for the Advent calendar. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So while we're looking for that piece, so that was just like, I made that piece because I was thinking about that time, that exact time that I was sharing with you about how it was such a challenge, and like I experienced a lot of self-doubt thinking because I was a new art director. I felt like there it is. So I felt like, could I do this? I felt like I had big shoes to fill because I had to replace someone who left. So it was a lot of self-doubt. But then like eventually everything worked out. Like I managed to come up with like a strategy that like when I look back and when I look at it, I look at my team now, like everyone has become self-sufficient. They also learn they know how to train the new artists themselves now. They know how to manage different teams now, like, without me having to micromanage. So I felt like that was like one of the biggest achievements that I've ever done. And like, I'm so proud of my team. And like I surprised myself at the things that I could accomplish too. So when I made this piece, it was like me conquering all the fears and the doubts that I had at that time and like coming out of it. Okay. So that was the biggest challenging. That was the most challenging thing that I've experienced in my career. Yeah.
It's such a great answer, and like it's such a cool experience to mentor people and see them grow, and like after all of that self-doubt and like I don't know if I can do this, it's so rewarding to just see everybody flourish that you work with and have people be inspired by you. I'm feeling really like energized listening to you and learning a lot. It's really cool. And I know that people in our chat have been responding, all very interesting things. Thank you. I will think about trying to work from now on. And they said, what are the projects? This actually brings me to one of our next questions. They said, what are the projects you're working on right now? Will there be new innovations from drawing art that you make? I guess, is there, those are like two questions. It's like, so what are some upcoming projects that you have going on? And like, maybe they're asking about like innovations in gaming that you're working on, perhaps?
Upcoming projects. I have to think about the ones that I can talk about. Unfortunately, I can't talk about any of them.
Well, okay. So then that means everybody
I have this. Okay, but I can say that I have this really, really big drop coming in May with a bunch of amazing artists. So May is something that you should look out for if there's something that you want to see from me.
Okay.
But I'm sorry, I can't give too much details right now.
It's classified information.
Yes.
But that's really cool that you're working on stuff that you can't talk about. That means that it's really big and exciting. And actually, this is a pretty deep question from Mylene. She asks, did you feel that because you're a woman, it was harder for you to reach your goal in this space? I feel like gaming especially can be a bit of a boys' club. Yeah.
I think I'm not. I can only speak for myself. I personally did not feel any. Like I didn't feel like as a woman I felt a lot of pushback from getting to where I am or anything like that. I think I just happened to be very lucky with where I found myself in. I think for context, in the Philippines where I'm from, when we talk about, clearly there's still a lot of headway to be made when it comes to gender equality. But there was one study that showed that women here, where I'm from, they are, in terms of equality, we're quite ahead compared to other countries. Again, I'm not saying that we're perfect and like everybody's super equal or anything that. But in terms of like comparing like the progress of women, and even like from personal experience, I can see that there are a lot of like female CEOs. A lot of women are in charge of running finances or the household and stuff like that here. There's a level of respect for women here as well, like when it comes to being leaders. So maybe, but maybe that's why I haven't really seen or experienced that much pushback. I guess from time to time, there will be like some comments here and there, but it hasn't stopped me or prevented like other female artists and other devs that I know from progressing or leveling up in the company that I'm in, and particularly in the company that I'm in as well. We're very supportive of each other. Even the women are very they're, I guess, how do I explain this? They're awesome. The women that I work with are just really awesome. Like as leaders, as motivators, as go-getters. I just like where I am. It's just, yeah.
That's really great to hear. And like, yeah, there are spaces where people are fostering like toxic environments, but I feel like you can always find a place where you will be respected and recognized for your talents. It's good to hear that was your experience, because it doesn't mean like everywhere in the gaming industry or everywhere in the crypto art space is like a boys club or something. Like, it's not always the case. Like, there are spaces out there, and once you find your tribe and like the people that see you, it doesn't matter that stuff is out there. Or, well, it does matter that stuff is out there, and it does need to be addressed and fixed. But I think it's good for young artists to know that not every space is going to be this place where you have to prove yourself, or to deal with sexism or anything like that.
And I also have to add, like, in crypto art, the women are just really supportive of each other. So like we really like we raise each other up, we share each other's work, we recommend each other, and it's just really great. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this space has really shown that like the abundance mindset is really alive and well in this space, that there is room for everybody to do their thing and have whatever level of success that comes to them, or that they create for themselves. There's so much possibility, just because people are so open and so supportive of each other, and they recognize that somebody could even be doing something very similar, but it's the way that they do it. It's still different. It's still theirs, and there's still room for you to do something almost similar too. Like I feel like in traditional art world, without the blockchain aspect, the crypto aspect of it, the NFTs, like there was a lot more competition. But here it's like you have 3D artists sharing the work of other 3D artists. There's no like, yeah, it's such a beautiful thing. And I'm like really glad.
I think because the crypto space is new, right? It presents an opportunity to build a new thing, like, build something new. We don't have to play by the rules of the old world. We create our own community. We create our own rules. And I think that's one of the most exciting things for me about the space, like that the realization that we're creating and building something new. You don't have to like play by their rules. You don't have to listen to all these art critics or these stuffy, publications who just don't get it or who just don't value digital art. Like until now, there's still people who are saying that this is useless, there's no value, but
it's just a JPEG.
Yeah. What is value, right? I mean, like everything, it's like it's the people who put value into something, right? Like, what is a Louis Vuitton bag? It's just a bag, but then people value it because of its name, right? Like it's the concept of value, right? That's what's being, I think, being discussed. And like, but then because they're just so used to thinking that digital art is it's just meant to be free. It's you could just right click and save. It's so that yeah, the concept of value, that's the thing that's what crypto art turned over its head. I think many people are just having a hard time just accepting that concept.
Yeah, I mean, for me, value is something that if enough people value something, then yes, it has value. I mean, that's to simplify it,
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like we've been living before this technology existed. We've been living in a world where, value is defined by like the authorities or like some financial institutions. But no, if enough people value something, then it is value. That's it. Like with or without government approval.
I mean, it's the same with real money. I mean, right? We value it because everybody just agrees it's valuable.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're already almost at the hour mark. I can't believe how fast it went so fast. I also noticed that I have like one more like little question, and then I guess we can part ways because I know it's late there. But I noticed that you're on like a lot of different minting platforms. Do you have one that you would recommend for new artists over the others, or no?
Well, I started with Rarible. If you really want to like get into NFTs like right away, I think you should definitely try out Rarible because it's an open market. Anybody can just join and then get your feet wet, familiarize yourself with the space. You could definitely, go to the curated platforms like Known Origin or Makerspace or Super Rare, but you have to anticipate waiting quite a bit for a response. So if you really want to just get started right away, you can do Rarible or maybe even OpenSea. But I don't have much experience with OpenSea. I really originally just started with Rarible. So you can start there if you're new.
I actually see one more question from the group in Discord. They asked, where would you recommend my daughter starting with digital drawings? She'll draw for hours on paper, but I would like to get her into digital, but I don't have any experience with it, so they don't know where to start.
Start. Because I think one of the easiest things to grasp would be like if she got an iPad. Because you draw directly on the screen, so that kind of switch from traditional to digital is just like, it's more intuitive, right? Because I started with using those tablets where you don't draw on the screen, right?
They're really janky.
Yeah, so it's like for a child, I think it might be a bit tricky, right? Like that kind of disconnect. You're not looking at your hand while drawing and stuff like that. But with an iPad, I think it's definitely much more intuitive, like to start drawing with it. if not an iPad, you can start getting those screen display tablets, so like Wacoms. But if a Wacom is beyond your budget, there are much more affordable options now. The alternatives are actually much better now than they were like 3 years ago, because the quality has increased a lot. So maybe you can try checking out like Huon or XP Pen. There's a lot of more affordable options for you to try. But yeah, definitely try something that where you actually draw on the screen directly. That would be much easier for like your child to understand and grasp.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just got an iPad a month ago, and I'm still just playing with all the different, drawing programs on it, and it's so much easier than using a tablet. So, a Wacom tablet with a computer separately.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, I would have recommended the same thing. It's really fun, and I bet like you could probably find some, like used or refurbished iPads, it doesn't have to be a brand new one.
Right.
Yeah. Well, this has been so fucking awesome hearing about your experience. And I just want to say really quick, like, where's the best place for people to follow you? Would it be Twitter?
Yes, definitely
Okay.
Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm putting the link tree here. There is in her link tree are links to all the spaces where Shelly is selling her NFTs.
It's a long list.
Yeah, it's a long list, and you'll also find her SoundCloud there. You can listen to her music that we were talking about earlier, and keep an ear to the ground tomorrow for her drop with charged particles for the totem drop. That's gonna be dope. And do you have any other upcoming drops that we should know about? I know we kind of touched on it before, but just to recap before we go.
I do have new stuff coming up, but I can't talk about them.
Okay, so you're going to have to. No, it's good to have secrets like that. It means people need to follow Shelly on Twitter and Instagram, so you can keep up to date with all the amazing things that she's doing. And thanks so much for being here today. It's been really fun.
Thank you. It was really fun too. You're an amazing host. Thank you for making everything so smooth and comfortable.
I'm so glad to hear that. All right, everybody. Wishing you a magical day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.